to all of you. It gives me immense pleasure to welcome you to this online conference on revival of real estate. This is being held on the sidelines of the India Construction Week 2020. I thank profusely CIDC, the Construction Industry Development Council, for having thought it fit to have this kind of a conference. And it is different times now, so now we need to adapt. So being CIDC, which is does a lot of innovative work on construction technologies, I think we also need to adopt from coming in from the sites to now the online platform. So very happy to be here this afternoon. I thank Mr. V. Ramnath, chairperson of the Real Estate Screening Special Committee, and having thought it fit that to include me. I am Prakash Challa, CMD of a company called SSPDL Limited. We are into construction and real estate at Chennai, Bangalore, and Hyderabad, and also some presence in Kerala. Apart from this, I'm also chairman of the CREDAI National Advisory Council. I've been associated with the Confederation of Real Estate Developers Association of India for several years now, having been the past national vice president and chairman of the taxation committee, etc. Very interesting to see that 2020, how it has evolved in the real estate space. The real estate is and construction industry, it contributes something close to around 12 to 13% to the GDP of the nation. The real estate companies, in terms of the actual business, they support more than 250 to 300 industries downstream. And any revival of the economy depends to a large extent on the real estate construction and real estate industry growing exponentially. Typically, we have been having a growth rate of around 10 to 12% annually. The advantage what India has today is that we have only domestic consumption. We don't need to depend on any external factors. The only external factor, if at all we require, is a lot of FDI to come in. And there are lots of opportunities for FDI to come in into this space, as to a large extent in terms of the way the funding is done in India. I'm addressing this issue because this is a larger audience, international scale. The funding in India is done to the real estate to the extent of only 5%. There is a cap fixed by the Reserve Bank of India, a sectoral cap on the deployment of funds to the real estate space. Apart from that, about typically around 9 to 12% is the funding which is done for the home loans and other sectors put together. So when you look at the total real estate portfolio, the commercial real estate occupies only 5%. The rest of it is the home loan segment. So in terms of total, it will not exceed more than 20 to 22%, while internationally, this funding towards the real estate space is close to around 45%. So we have a long way to go, and there are good opportunities for the PE funds to come in and large REITs to walk into India in terms of development. Now, in the last 6 months, let's being specific about the post-COVID times, what has happened. COVID came in as a bolt from the blue for Indian real estate, because from 2013, we had a lot of challenges, and in terms of there was a very weak demand coming in. The economy was not doing all that well. And when we thought that when it's just about reviving in 2016, we had the demonetization, which impacted to a large extent. And then we had the GST, which was introduced in 2017, which created a major challenges in terms of the bottleneck of input tax credit. So major interventions, 3 major interventions into the real estate space has seen a lot of dampening of the sector. But luckily, when it was just about reviving around 2018-19, then COVID struck us. Surprisingly, within 3 months, we thought that COVID is going to take a long-term impact on the real estate space, but within 3 months, the markets bounced back. Maybe it is a question of that pent-up demand. Maybe to a large extent, banks also has reduced mortgage rates. The mortgage rates have come down to the historical low of close to 7%, which was never there. So these are the factors which have really improved in terms of the real estate space going in. I would like to share a couple of slides with you so that it gives you a better perspective of what exactly is happening in the space. This is just an introduction about myself so that those who are there to understand clearly. Now, this is a very interesting slide on the residential real estate market. If you look at it, the Q1 launches were around 40,000 units, and the Q2 launches fell down to only 14,780 units. And slowly, the Q3 also has come down to the 12,654. So the number of launches have come down. So that indicated that, yes, there are a lot of existing stock which got unloaded. So when you see the last slide, yes, a lot of slides, if you look at the sales activity increased across markets, there has been an improvement from Q2 to Q3 from 10,000 units to 14,000 units. Now, very interesting is the ticket size which is being actually selling today. It is majority is the sub 10 million rupees apartments. And when you look at it, the major the markets are Hyderabad. Hyderabad has done exceedingly well. Fairly, Chennai also has done fairly well. Bengaluru is not done so well in the Q3, while Mumbai market is existing pent-up demand was there, which got cleared up, and Pune is really rocking in terms of the numbers. So average, you have about 84% to 74%, and affordable housing is where the actual markets are there in India. So all the people who are looking at in trying to invest and come into the markets in India, they should look at this kind of the segment on which they should be looking at. In terms of number of units, it's running into millions of units of requirement is there. So for several years, this market is going to be stable. A lot of fiscal incentives have been given in terms and all that, as well as lowering of GST rates. There is still scope for the stamp duty reduction, which is likely to happen. And from CREDAI, we have been working aggressively for the reduction of the GST rate itself and on the construction contracting business, plus also look at giving the input tax credit, which is having a dampening effect in the higher cost of sales. Now, apart from the residential market, which is pretty buoyant today, we have to see a very interesting the office real estate market. Now, the entire real estate space in the country is moved on from the office market, generating a lot of jobs which are created. So when you look at the Q1 of 2020, it was around 8.62 million square foot which got absorbed. And Q2 was a dampener because just then the entire lockdown was introduced, and then subsequently the Q3 has just picked up and it has more or less given a 64% growth rate, which is very interesting. Now, same time, there's a lot of pre-commitment which have happened during that period. The pre-commitment was largely to clients in Bengaluru and Hyderabad. Hyderabad is a new place which is completely overtaken the other southern states, and it is inching to the #1 position next to Bengaluru. Very likely it is likely to cross over in terms of the infrastructure. Hyderabad is doing superb in the way the entire government has taken it to a different level there. So this is the basic industry where you have a lot of commitments and a lot of pre-commitments are going on there. And parallelly, the entire commercial real estate space also is taking a lot of changes now because the work from home rule has come in terms of several IT companies are now re-imaging their own requirements of office space. But as the latest survey which took place is there, where they have given clearly that the way the entire markets have revived, they look at it that this is a very short-term measure. Eventually, people need to come back to the offices because the way it is growing. Now, other two very interesting products which are shown a lot of growth potential is the data centers, because India is turning out to be a big data center destination where land prices are much cheaper and connectivity is very high, and we have a good power situation, especially Tamil Nadu and Chennai, where the underwater cable is landing, is a good opportunity for the data centers, as Tamil Nadu is surplus with even power. Apart from this, you have the warehousing space, because e-commerce has really taken off during the entire lockdown period, and people going forward are looking at larger e-commerce businesses happening. So warehousing is another major opportunity which is available for people to look at in terms of the businesses. All in all, the growth visibility is there in terms of the entire aspect of the real estate business. And with this, I think I should take it forward. In case you have any questions, you can email to me. I have given my email ID. I was just given a very short 10 minutes speech. I hope I have covered everything in it in terms of investments and domestic market and demographic dividend. Thank you, everybody. Thank you for listening.
Very good morning. Greetings of the day to all viewers. I'm Colonel Viswajit Chaube, scientist in DRDO and holding an appointment of Chief Construction Engineer R&D South at Hyderabad. I express my deep gratitude to CIDC for providing this platform to me, for sharing my views on the very important topic, that is reviving construction industry in post-COVID-19, post-COVID world. I also take this opportunity to congratulate CIDC and ISTT, who have taken a noble step to jointly organize Indian Construction Week 2020 with a very suitable theme, what we are going to discuss today. I'd like to share my screen for next 10 to 12 minutes, and we are going to discuss Very good morning. Greetings of the day to all viewers. I'm Colonel Viswajit Chaube, scientist in DRDO and holding an appointment of Chief Construction Engineer R&D South at Hyderabad. I express my deep gratitude to CIDC for providing this platform to me for sharing my views on the very important topic, that is reviving construction industry in post-COVID-19, post-COVID world. I also take this opportunity to congratulate CIDC and ISTT, who have taken a noble step to jointly organize Indian Construction Week 2020 with a very suitable theme, what we are going to discuss today. I'd like to share my screen for next 10 to 12 minutes, and we are going to discuss what has happened in the last 6-7 months, almost a year now, going to be year now, and what is its impact, and then what would be our recommendations to come out of it, if not completely, at least partially. As with most parts of the world, India is also trying to respond to the challenges of post-COVID-19 reality, which has come to define a new normal for our economy and the society at large. The infrastructure and construction sectors, which are primarily responsible for India's growth story, are already facing the headwinds from the COVID-19 pandemic and cannot expected to be insulated from its damaging impact. Construction industry world over has borne extreme losses due to onslaught of COVID-19 and this pandemic, so much so that the pain and scars inflicted upon the industry due to damage and losses will keep haunting us and its stakeholders for a long time to come. Even today, the pandemic is far from being over, and the damage and losses are continuing unabated. Therefore, in today's scenario, CIDC has really doing a commendable job by organizing this kind of a discussion so that the industry at all level and the academia should come forward, the government agencies should come forward to find a genuine solution of that. We would like to discuss what has happened in the last 9 months, what is the impact assessment, and what should be the probable recommendations to come out of it. As you know, the construction industry in India is the second largest employer after agriculture industry. It is critical to the country's economic stability, and it accounts for 8% of the national GDP and almost employs 57.5 million people. Being a core sector, there are numerous industries that are dependent on the construction industry. Industry in all sectors almost contributes 60% of the total investment that takes place in India. So that is the reality, and that is the impact on the overall economic scenario in our country. We are the major stakeholder in the national growth. As per the report which I found on a net, it's a KPMG report. It says roads and bridges, urban infrastructure, railways, and irrigation sectors accounted for more than 60%, 64% of the investment from 2008 to 2019. The construction sector, both the development and infrastructure, in India was the second largest recipient, almost 10% of FDI from 2000 to 2019, despite being fragmented. So what could be the effect? And we are already experiencing these effects of this pandemic on our construction industry. It is expected to face a simultaneous uh, effect on both supply and demand on account of this. As the sector is driven by infrastructure project to a large extent, it is expected to hit severely by the current levels of uncertainty, dismal business and consumer sentiments, loss of income, as well as the diversion of, because the government funds are going to be diverted towards COVID-19 management. So next 2 to 3 financial year, as per me, is going to affect this industry like anything. Low economic activity in other sectors would have impact construction services through forward linkages. These are the sectors that feed into the construction sector. We have got chemicals, agriculture, non-metallic products, trade, metal products, and these are the contribution, how it is going to affect us, as shown on the slide. A fall in output of construction would also have a multiplier effect. It is a force multiplier. It is a multiplier effect on through backward linkage, causing further shrinking of overall economic activity. And this pandemic is expected to hit labor-intensive sector, particularly in a very hard way. And in this construction industry alone, migrant workers comprise a large part of the workforce and typically stay in, at construction site. We all know what has happened in the month of April, May, when the mass migration had taken place from the workplace to their native. It was a very horrific scene and incident that had taken place at that time. The lockdown imposed due to COVID-19 and its extension from time to time led to reverse migration of workers, leaving cities and going back to their home. These are few photographs. You will remember that approximately, as per the report, 6 lakhs workers, they just walked from one place to another place, to their native place. And around 10 lakhs workers were in relief camp at that time. These are the horrific photographs at that time. Now, if you see what are the impact which can be assessed due to this, is having COVID-19 is having a massive impact on construction projects, but the legal implications vary from country to country and the contract to contract. On the contractual side, much focus is now being given to the wording of standard forms which are used as FIDIC and the NEC. Underdeveloped projects are going to be worst affected with a minimum impact to 3 to 6 months. As you know that all construction projects had come to a halt till July, August, though the lockdown was lifted, but where are those labor force, those who used to work at site? So overall, there was shortages of labor at that time, and therefore the construction industry are severely affected because of this pandemic. Due to delay in construction period from lockdown, there would be an additional interest cost on the working capital loans. Those have been taken by the different construction agency, which will be borne by the developers or the contractors, depending upon the risk sharing mechanism. Revised standard operating procedures, duly incorporating social distancing, personal protective equipment, and hygiene would be required to be adopted at project cost. And that is going to be added to the project cost. We have to implement as per the guidelines of Ministry of Home Affairs and Family Welfare. And therefore, these are going to have a cascading effect on our construction cost. The project dependent on specialized equipment, electronics, and specialized materials are more likely to be hit by disruptions. Implementation cost may not vary much for linear projects like irrigation canals, pipelines, transmission lines, road etc. This is my personal view. It may be affected, but not as affected because of as like multi-story building constructs or projects. Contractually, events such as in the event of COVID-19 pandemic generally do engage contractual provisions concerning the consequences of unforeseen events. These provisions commonly fall into two broad categories: force majeure and contractual provisions for restrictions in the material entry and the personal entry to cite an avoidable cost incurred due to change of law. So these clauses have already been invoked through a letter issued from Ministry of Finance. Now, what would be the recommendation in such scenario where it has been already, this pandemic has severely hit the construction industry? As per me, when I was going through, I found there are so many recommendations. There are so many papers written towards this. And one very interesting study I could find out on internet, which says there will be effect which we can broadly divide into three parts: short term, which is 1 to 2 months; medium term, between 3 to 6 months; and long term, which is going to be more than 6 months. And there are different stakeholders which who can take action as per these recommendations, as per these suggestions, and they are government, owner and developer, and EPC contractor. If you see what government can take action as a short-term measures, that is release part retention money as applicable. So this point has already been taken into consideration by the government, and a letter has been issued in this regard to release part retention amount as applicable to the project as the progress of the work. Then automatic extension of time as applicable. This point has been taken care of by the Ministry of Finance. Then prioritizing pending projects. As we just discussed, that projects which were running, they were badly, they came to standstill. So out of that, we can prioritize which projects are of high priority, and we can give concessions to those projects as to push it through, and to provide tax benefits and minimum waive of electricity charges or the water supply charges. These actions can be taken by the government as a short-term measure. Now, as a long-term, medium-term measure, commission a construction task force for full-scale resumption of work. This task force is required to go into the details of what are the effects and how the industry can be supported by the government. Amend model concession agreements contract. The different provisions in the contracts has to be inbuilt for future contracts. Infuse one-time national fund if possible, and implement single window clearance system whereby we have to take so many clearances to start a project or to continue a project. Then we can also talk about the building the resilience and agility as a long-term measure, that is strengthen early warning and response system, so that such kind of pandemic or such kind of unforeseen events, if these are given sufficient warning, then some remedial measures can be taken by the industry itself. Setting up construction tribunal sort of a thing, capacity building we have to see, standard protocols is to be implemented, and for the housing and healthcare of the workers. So these are the suggestions which and the recommendations which at the government level can be done. Apart from that, new methodologies and alternate construction material for new construction for which the existing projects have been looked into. This is very important because now the construction labor cost is going to be very, very high. Therefore, we can look into those materials and kind of system of the construction methodology, which is more of a machine oriented, material oriented, and not the labor oriented. That we are going to discuss subsequently. Apart from considering new methodologies for new construction, the existing projects shall be looked into various aspects as change of construction methodology or material may not be feasible depending upon the construction stage of the progress. Government and owners shall extend the project timelines. We have already discussed that. Government may consider to provide tax benefits, minimize or waive the electricity charges and the water supply charges, provide housing and healthcare for workers. Government and owner shall extend the project timelines, release part retention amount as we discussed. Owners, developers should implement the guidelines issued by the government time to time. A joint replanning and contractors and the vendors guidelines on facility to workers, appoint a rapid response team. All stakeholders of construction industry shall focus on different and new innovative construction technologies and methodologies. We can embrace prefabricated building, pre-engineered buildings where the labor involvement can be minimized at site. Flexible working times for workers round the clock in shifts. These are being implemented after this work at different construction site has already resumed. So these kind of flexible working times are being implemented already at the site. Design and implement risk management framework to provide early warnings. Now, CPWD adopted 3 new technologies validated by BMTPC: monolithic concrete construction, EPS core panel system, and light gauge steel framed structure. This is very, very important. We are going to discuss a little bit more in details because these constructions are going to be less labor oriented and intensive. And it will be a very faster, eco-friendly and quality construction. These are also useful in the present scenario, and we must look into that. Now, if you see, these are the precast elements of a building: beam, column, even the panel for the roof, they are also being used. They are fabricated at fabrication site at a well-developed workshops, and these are transported at site, and it's more of a machinery oriented than the labor oriented. So these kind of precast and the pre-engineered structures are to be given more priority and importance. Pre-engineered buildings can be preferred for their economy and faster construction and less work time at site for all industrial buildings. There are other construction techniques. I'll talk about the hybrid construction technology, in which conventional, precast, and pre-engineered, all 3 technologies can be used. We can go for a conventional foundation system. The beams and columns can be composite elements, means we can use a column with the MS circular hollow tubes where reinforcement can be welded prior as per the design, and the concreting can be done at site. So this hybrid type of construction technology, by use of foundation as a conventional and beam columns and slabs with the pre-engineered, precast, or composite construction, all these three elements can be dovetailed in a project. It will be a faster, it will be very, if not economy side, we have to see. We have to see whether it is at par with the RCC framed structure, because we have done an analysis. If it is a little bit on a costlier side at the time of construction, 5 to 6%, but in the long run, it is going to be economical so far as its maintenance is concerned. But what is the requirement of the day as on is the labor. So it's a less labor intensive and more uh, uh, all these construction different type of cranes will be utilized, equipment will be utilized, and technology will be utilized. It is more intensive to that and less intensive to the labor, which is going to be a big problem in years to come. Composite construction technique like precast construction, concrete, steel, or composite can be looked into. Now, this kind of a construction is already happening. It is to be encouraged more and more, where you can see a cylindrical column where reinforcements is already built inside. Only you have to do the concreting at site, and it can be erected very fast with the help of machineries like cranes and the hydras. This, if you see the left, bottom left side, these are the beam which can be casted monolithically as part of composite construction. Beams, column, and the slab. Slab can be precast, hollow, or slab also. Now, the hybrid construction technology, we have got the fully self-supporting, quick and easy placing, increased safety because of its less manpower oriented, and is a narrow sections, long-lasting building, architectural freedom, is a fire resistance, seismic resistance, regulation and certified, savings and fixed cost. So these are the advantages when we resort to such kind of a construction in more numbers, in the more frequency. We are also doing a project in which 11,500 square meter of building, we are planning to make the superstructure, to construct the superstructure in 30 days of time frame. It is a G+6 building, and we are going to do that. And if what we have envisaged and what we have planned, you can see the different house, day +5, day +8, and day +28, G+6 configuration building of 11,500 square meter. We are planning to do it somewhere in Bangalore in 30 days of time frame. Thereafter, finishes can be looked into. So overall time frame for this G+6, we have kept around 6 months of time frame. But the superstructure is going to be built in just 28 days of time frame. This, once this is made, we can make a project report, and the cost benefit analysis can be done on actual expenditure. So, gentlemen, I have already expressed my views, and these are my personal views, how the pandemic
Hello, good morning, good afternoon. This presentation is for the real estate industry, okay, and the need for adoption of construction technologies for speedy delivery of structures is presented here. Right, the real estate issues in construction system are predominantly the after the COVID issue has come, labor availability in the site and skilled labor availability in the site has really become a big problem. So predominantly all the developers are going with conventional construction because this has been the mode of construction which is known to the labor as well as the contractors easily. So any developer can simply think in terms of going for conventional construction as a system, but labor non-availability has become a big problem which we need to solve. So in the typical conventional construction, labor intensive, heavy formwork intensive type of construction, time consuming for shuttering and de-shuttering, and skilled labor diminishing day by day, accommodation to the labor at site is a problem. Time saving in construction has been happening through advancement in construction technology, in formwork, slip form, jump form, concrete pumping, lifting technology, and various other plant and machinery related to construction field, followed by safety as prime importance. Further advancement in time saving as well as to meet the non-availability of skilled labor led to construction technologies. Different types of construction technologies for high-rise structures for speedy delivery are shear wall oblique monolithic construction using aluminum type of shuttering, insulated wall panel construction using shortcutting of concrete, light gauge steel or cold form steel construction, precast and prefabricated construction using concrete and steel, composite construction. Shear wall oblique monolithic construction using aluminum shuttering is such that it is nowadays about 50% of the developers are going for this such that they can avoid brick construction, another activity, as well as brick quality is not good and masons can be reduced. Okay, there's a greater advantages, and once you buy the formwork system, aluminum formwork system, okay, and then it can be used for 30 or 40 stories easily, and if we handle it carefully, then it with this formwork because it won't be rusting, it can be used for generations. But we need to keep this in mind by putting some labor in charges such that the labor will not be throwing and damaging it. Once it gets damaged, cement slurry will leak from the joints of the formwork. They are predominantly of 2 feet wide, 600 wide, and height of whatever that we want, 3 meters or 2,900, whatever we want. And they can also manufacture 300 wide, 150 wide also, and they can be made into the, taking the plan into consideration, they will give the openings also, and at the edges, if it gets to be 300 or 150, they will provide it. Okay, and even shuttering, the chedjas also can be cast along with this type of construction. These are the buildings built in 2010 for Bangalore Development Authority by Deepak Cables India, were one of the developers at the time, contractors and developers for this type of LIG, MIG, and HIG buildings. Okay, the cost of formwork at that time is to 10,000 per square meter. It has now come down to 8,000 to 8,500 per square meter. Is a beauty, considering the fact that number of industries have come in India also, which are manufacturing these aluminum type of formwork. Now, we have convinced the government of AP to adopt this type of construction rather than going for conventional type. Okay, and thereby we all the government have released the tenders calling for construction only in monolithic type of construction using aluminum formwork. The type of EWS units that they have adapted there is 300 SFT with 1 bedroom, living, kitchen, and 1 toilet and 1 balcony to dry the clothes and other things. Okay, 4 units on one side, 4 followed by staircase. There's only G+3 units. It does not have the lift also, but where they have provided in the case of 365 SFT, we have gone for 6 units on one side, 6 units on one side. Again, G+3 building, 1 staircase is sufficient enough. But where we have gone for 12 units per, it is like 4, 2, 2, 4, 6, 6 plus 2, 12 in one floor. We have provided 2 staircases and provided the provision for lift also. These are 430 SFT, but 2 bedroom units, hall and kitchen and toilet and a small balcony for drying out the units. So you can see these beautiful buildings where The reason why we convinced the government is that when we are constructing with this concrete wall construction, there are 120 thick walls, okay, 120 thick walls with a single layer reinforcement, okay, and they are pretty strong enough against earthquake and all that. And being concrete walls, they will not crack, they will not get the moisture ingression into the wall, unlike the brick walls, where brick quality will be poor used by the contractor, and the plastering also will not be giving much protection, and the water is ingressing into the building, and people are leaving the buildings within no time of 2 to 3 years of occupation, okay, because they can't be maintained. So with these buildings, there no maintenance is required. And the paint system that we have adapted is also that it will last for 5 years. And vitrified flooring is adapted into the flooring system. And the tiles are provided in the bathroom, even in the kitchen also 2 feet high tiles are provided. And with a beautiful polished Shabba stone is provided on top as a kitchen platform. That's how the buildings are. You can see the beautiful buildings and beautiful locations. And even in Vijayanagaram, just adjacent to the big hill and a pollution-free atmosphere, people live in a pollution-free, fantastic atmosphere type of buildings which are being built there. Even in Amaravati, the capital of Andhra Pradesh, there also the buildings are coming up in a big way, built by KMV and as well as Nagarjuna Construction, L&T, and even Shapurji are building in Gunturu, Vijayawada, and around East Godavari and West Godavari districts around that. Okay, this is how the beautiful type of different type of paint systems adapted, different coloring options. We can see them. Right, and then the next type of construction is insulated wall construction using Shotcrete. This is being adapted for a 12-story building also, for RCC wall and even a steel type of construction, steel columns and steel beams. And then this is being used, the EPS with a both side mesh reinforcement, okay, and then the shotcreting is used as a shear wall system for a 12-story construction. We have designed that along with Geodesic, who are the main constructor for the things. And we can see this here, the buildings where the wall system, this will be prefabricated using a machine, and then the wall reinforcement, we using a 3 to 4 mm wire, and then the dowels will be coming from the bottom, okay, they'll be merged in like this and shotcreted, okay, and when once you go, this is how the shotcreting, they will beautifully use the mason type of this thing and then render it to have a smooth surface. Now what you are seeing here is, on the top level they can pour concrete, no need of formwork, and the system must sustain. After that they will remove it from the bottom, they will do the shotcreting to the slab also. Okay, you can see some of these buildings which are being shotcreted right up to this. The top 2 floors are built there, okay, and then they can do the shotcreting also to that, and then the completed buildings, they can look like this fantastically, and it will have the temperature reduction by about 4 degrees centigrade. This is what the Jindal Steel and Power used it at Angul, Orissa for their housing construction system to the staff. 4-story buildings being used there. And even in for fisheries community, Housing Corporation of Andhra Pradesh have even adopted the same system which is built there. Next type of construction is light gauge steel. It is totally dry form, dry wall construction system, no curing, nothing. We will be using a 1.6 to 2 mm channel sections, and then we'll be providing the wall panels on either side with the panel boards made of cement, or even other types of systems which are available into that, with a rock wool inside, which will be a fire resisting system as an insulation as well as a sound insulation system. They have constructed a 4-story construction here. The building for their staff at Raigir, which is part of what is Chhattisgarh state, right? So you can see that on top of a existing guest house, they have even built one, the light gauge steel construction, and when completed, it looks fantastic into that. Even the hospitals are being built into that. This is one type of system. You can see here, there is a small video which I will be running it very briefly. Yeah, this is how the framing system will be coming directly, getting attached. Okay, and then they will be putting the staircases and the slab system for the concrete. Okay, and later on, whatever the type you want, they will be putting the boards, entirely drywall boards provided there, no concrete, nothing. That's the beauty into the system. So the composite construction, we'll move on to composite construction. Composite construction is steel frame, steel columns, steel beams. On top of that, you can use the precast concrete slabs, or you can also use the deck slab construction and pour concrete. And concrete, the steel columns are encased in concrete, which will give corrosion protection as well as fire protection. For the beams and all, you have to apply the intumescent paint or other cement-based paints in such a way that vermiculate system is what they say, and then it can be protected from corrosion as well as fire resistance. So apart from that, we can also go for precast systems, where in the conventional system you can see that heavy formwork is required, congestion is there. In the precast, no such a formwork. The elements will come from the factory, get erected, and even abroad you can see in Dubai, where I worked for 10 years, even they use the facade type also with precast systems. Okay, this is how the mushrooming of the structures, wonderfully using the precast. In India, you can see these G+3 story blocks. Some Santushti homes were built at Bhiwadi. Okay, this is how the building systems are, precast wall and all. This is one system which is being shown here for about 1 million square feet, 2 million square feet, 3 million square foot. The precast system that is required to set up is 18 crores, 24 crores, 30 crores. And then what is the cost of construction? 1,000 rupees per SFT, 950 per SFT, 900 per SFT, correspond to 2 million square foot, 3 million. That means the construction quantity increases to about 3 million square foot. Cost of construction has come down to 900. So more the repetitions in precast, the cost of construction come down. In the conventional construction, 1,200 per SFT is a constant cost, but look at the time saving. In precast, for 1 million square foot, it is 12 to 15 months. 2 million square foot is about 15 to 18 months. 3 million square foot, 20 to 24 months. Okay, in the conventional construction, for 1 million square foot, 36 months compared to 12 to 15 months. And 2 million square foot, 15 to 18 months precast, it requires 48 in conventional. And 3 million square foot, 20 to 24 months, it requires 60 months in conventional. That is a beauty in precast. So all developers can move on to precast construction or composite construction, which will save the same time. So this is developed sometime in 2010, this table by me, that is for considering a 500 SFT area for a G+4 building. And this needs to be updated for the present type of costing. Now, this is the number of precast industries have come in across India. You can also see that in Hyderabad, Janapriya developers have done first of all. Thereafter, Precast has done wonderful structure for a long time, and they're continuing. Skill Promoter has used Node Bhiyanti. Inventa have set up in Hyderabad, Vijayawada, and Rajahmundry. They're also doing in Bhubaneswar also. PSU Precast is there in Hyderabad. They've taken machines from Canada. Eco Precast have also done for GHMC Dundigal, whereas Inventa as well as PSU Precast and Eco Precast have done for GHMC at Dundigal, constructing 11-story precast buildings. At Bhubaneswar, Inventa is there. Raipur, BSBK are doing wonderfully the structures. Coimbatore, TMH is doing. Nalgonda also they have set up recently. Calicut, Chennai BME are doing wonderful structures. Okay, and Pune, Best, and IBL, Mumbai, L&T have done one. Deliver. Bangalore, Gauri Infrastructure have used more living to construct structures. Shapurji, Palanji have been doing it at Bangalore. They have done one wonderful structure, setting up a carousel system. Noida Supertech is the only full-fledged system. Basically, there is another factory also. BJ Shirke has been there since a long time. Okay, Bharat developers have done one wonderful structure using tilting table HCS machines. In precast slabs, which is the beauty in the system, solid precast slab, hollow core slab, double T, single T. Okay, by using this hollow core slab, the formwork can be avoided. Okay, precast beams also is possible, and you can use a 3-story precast columns at a time, saving in time in terms of precast construction. Okay, and a precast flooring system. This is how the hollow core slab, concrete in the central portion will not be there, but it is pretty stronger. Okay, in terms they can be cut and set up on the site. There the pre-stressing strands. You can have a 30 to 35 mm cover depending upon the precast hollow core slab. After all the precast slabs are erected, 70 mm thick topping will come and it will be grouted in between. Okay, and thereby it gives a more of the recursion. Precast hollow core slab looks like this. Openings also can be provided during the casting. There are some of the systems where on the steel beams as well as walls also hollow core slabs can be provided. Prestressed composite slabs, double T slabs is a wonderful system. Here in the hollow core slabs, what happens here is this is standard of about 1200, whereas in double T slabs, you can use about 2400, 2500, 3000, depending on the width. Length can be anything. Okay, it can span about 15 to 30 meters. That is a beauty. If a single T slabs can span 15 to 22, double T spans can span even up to 30 meters, and the depth can vary from 400 to 900. These are the pre-stressing strands. Usually it is initially cast 70 thick, and then the rest of the concrete will be poured after erecting it on the slabs. Now you can see in abroad they are carrying a 30-meter slab on the truck. So India also will be poised to do that. So you can see the beauty of in a shopping mall or for parking structures, column-free structure, whereby they can put the racking system wherever they want. Okay, even in India, the Precast India infrastructure in Pune have developed this particular system and supplied, as well as Precast has also done for one structure in Nijam Club for parking structure. And then this is called as a lattice system without pre-stressing and all. Anyone can do it on the side. Okay, and then this is also done by Precast India and as well as Preca, as well as Puja construction developers in Hyderabad. So within this lattice system, they will cast about 60 to 70 mm thick, put it over the beams, and then pour the rest of the concrete. So here 100% elevation of slab formwork, 100% elevation of soffit plaster work, 50 to 70% reduction of slab propping work. Why 50 to 70%? Because you are going to pour the rest of the concrete, 150 to 200, whatever you require, after erecting them onto that. So it's about 10 meter long when you say, being only 70 mm thick or 100 mm thick, it cannot take the rest of the concrete on the top. So they just provide only the beams, okay, to take care of the extra concrete. So if you look at the precast system for housing, you can have a precast walls and on top hollow core slabs, okay, and then the precast stays are very simple to do it in this system. Precast boundary walls are very simple to do, and then this is now has come across India, where every 5 feet you can have a precast column type with the insertion of the precast systems of about 1 feet element. You can see that here every 1 feet element, the two levers can just erect it and slide it in between the precast columns. Precast columns will be dug into the ground by about 3 feet and poured concrete with a 2 feet diameter into that. Now you can see that along with the boundary wall, you can also do a structure for a servant quarters, okay, even inside of that. So this is much going across Andhra as well as across India fantastically. Okay, facade elements, colored elements also can be used. And examples in India, some of the precast building, WTC Center in Pune built by Precast India Infrastructure. BD have done one structure, B plus S plus 18 built by BJ Shirke. Okay, and office building in about, they built 1,65,000 square feet in 4.5 months by Preca. Hospital building 1,20,000 square feet built in 4 months by Preca. Industrial building in Hyderabad built by Cadbury's project 2,20,000 square feet delivered in 5 months. I think they have delivered only the precast slabs here. Okay, VME Group Chennai is doing wonderful precast structures. For DRDO Caps in Bangalore, they have delivered one structure. Novotel Hotel is built by VME Chennai. Kivaraj Motor Car Showroom is built in Chennai by VME. Office building in Gindi, Chennai built by VME. Lakeside Chennai is again built by VME. Team Ace Coimbatore is doing well. Initially, they have built their own building. Later on, they are building canteen block for about 38 days. In about 38 days, 13,500 SFT. Okay, Rotary School Tirupur built in 28 days for 90,000 SFT again by them. SCM Skill Tirupur, Tamil Nadu built in 30 days for 52,000 square foot by them. Christian Medical College, Vellore, Tamil Nadu built in 27 days, built up area of about 50,000 SFT. Jindal Student Housing is built by Jindal for 85,000 square foot, built in 2 months is a beauty by them. Now, built in 2 months means all these precast slabs, precast element erection is done prior to that. That is not taking into account of 2 months. That's what you have to remember. The 6-story building simply erected in 2 months. Okay, this is sort of Nestle Process R&D Center is built by VME again. Okay, this we have seen it already. Wall frame execution is by Bharat City Developers. My friend Bob Van Gils has designed it. It is in Ghaziabad. Okay, wall frame execution. So that is about it. For any doubts and details, you can call me. You can write to me at prasad@meetha.in. This is my phone number. Thank you very much.
जय जगन्नाथ, Vande Utkal Janni, Vande Matram. As you know, our construction week is going on regarding for finding the solution of real estate and other construction related business. My topic is how to manage the real estate after COVID-19 pandemic. I am providing some solution regarding this. The real estate marketing heading into the current crisis has sometimes been described as the 11th inning of a tremendous growth cycle. So no one would be surprised if the economy's COVID-19 whiplash had principal feeling NGS. The future of real estate changes to their properly strategy and how the industry as a whole will come out of it. Here are some highlights and some points. Development regarding real estate development. How to deal in pre-development are moving along. However, there are concerns that as the situation continue to develop, the appetite for certain projects may change. Construction has pretty much stopped, so companies will soon be forced to see how any future to meet delivery dates play out. The question looming over these projects, if dates get missed, will force majeure come into play. How force majeure will be interpreted by the court is going to help put the deal into perspective in the future. One potential effect of this marketplace may be longer period for underwriting deals instead of a 5-year exit. You would see more companies writing to a 7 to 10 year exit. The day of shorter exits might come back, but not anytime soon. Vocation communities are in the new discouraging visitors coming from the cities, so some of those contracts for second home tourist properties may be cancelled. Opportunity zones will be hit extremely hard because their nature, their exist in tertiary markets. The 10 years holding period may address some of that reluctance so that developers can still entice tenants to move into those neighborhoods that had been seen as a bit of risk prior to cost program. Regardless of what happens in the near future, the feelings is that new development will hold by quite a bit. Sector impact. We are so far are seeing in more pain in retail rather than residential, particularly with mom and pop types of businesses who have been decimated by the shutdown and pandemic. Many commercial tenants such as retail and parking lot operators are not paying rent currently at loss to an extent, with some owners asking them to do the best they can with payment. Real estate companies will monitor those metrics as many continue to see this as merely a pause in the market. The residential sector is also wondering how and when the market is going to rebound and to what extent developers will subsidize housing properties are more confident in eventual government payment. In terms of asset classes, logistics seem to be winner coming out of this crisis. It will be interesting to see what happens with the supply chain and logistics space moving forward. With with expected changes on the horizons for other infrastructure in light of this crisis. That may be another area where project will increase. The feeling among participants was that this crisis will be the beginning of the end for shared workspace companies. Hotel and hospitality properties will be in turmoil for a long time, while some customer will be chomping at the bit to travel once and all clear has been issued. There will be significant drawback. First, consumers will struggling with the shutdown and pandemic of the industry and job loss. In addition, there will be people who will be hesitate to get back into the swing of travel, wanting to avoid plans, large public venue, hotels and more for some time. The hospitality industry will be tackling the issue of providing assurance that they can keep customers safe in this changed world. Deal of the future. Some companies are on the lookout right now for deal. Cash is still king. So serious discount are expected soon. The price decline are seen as just beginning, and there is a lot more that data that has to come in for a proper forecast, given that it is not even possible to show properties right now. Transaction volume is going to be pretty much zero for a while. Some companies will weigh potential deal in this cycle against development in other sector. Long-term drivers for demand may change so much, particularly with office space, that it come a gamble. Shared workstation will be questionable rolling forward, and while some companies may see the WeWork fallout as an opening for new businesses to occupy that space, others believe that some WeWork location were filling in less desirable space anyway, so that will not be able to easily filled in the future. Patient investor can be flexible to wait for transaction to occur. There is very little data in the market at the moment because of the lack of post-shutdown transaction. Patience on exit and cost acquisition is huge. In 6 months, we will see some amazing deal put together as the discount are not there yet. Some companies are seeing discount of just 5 to 10% in multi-family family space for secondary market. Some companies think that when the discount get to 15% and they get a better handle on cap rates and interest rate, there will be a lot of transaction activity. Amenities. Developer believe that micro units will stay, while co-working and living space will take a significant step back. That you cannot control others' habit and use of the space bring up the thought of potential for your neighbors or colleagues to potentially endanger your life with their action, and that kind of thinking throw Cold War on the thought of hanging out together. Technology adoption. Real estate as an industry has been doing a lot of catching up on technology, and this crisis is making things develop even more quickly. Real estate companies are dialed into all these new collaborative platforms to get the work done, and the progress being made is amazing. After this situation is over, these technologies which enable more efficient operation and communication will be as an essential element of a good organization. While some real estate companies will ironically ditch formal space or formal office space as remote working because more acceptable, others see things going the other way, with even elderly and less techno-savvy clients figuring out how to take advantage of online tools which save companies time and money. The way we operate can become more automated. We are simply looking at an accelerated paradigm shift. Time will tell what other innovation change the way we transact business post-crisis. As for the future of development, A class locations will be the only open in play for office as demand factor change. Work from home will change office utilization and office usage rational will be different. Some developers also believe that there could be law created addressing office density as well. Home ownership will continue to shrink. Increased demand for industrial space will continue in the future. Self-storage seems to be great asset to have right now. Other future trends, some of the millennial generation changes are here to stay. Meaningfulness of experience versus more space. People will put a premium on their time and experience. They will want to live somewhere where they can walk around and yes, connect with their community. The world is seeing how they can work remotely, but there are still people who prefer a separation between living and working space. This market is going to be very hard for millennials. The biggest customer for developers right now show that will have a major impact. A smaller starter unit will still be needed. The market will have moving forward an abundance of labor that we will be able to utilize for project. There will be also be more pressure to reorganize the industry to address inequalities as well. We will continue to hold roundtables to share ideas, experience, insights in current trends and developments and hopes